What in God's name are you doing to my son, you filthy intruder? Jonathan Hale's roar shattered the nursery's fragile quiet, his face twisted in raw fury as he stormed through the door. Serena Jackson froze, her arms cradling little Ethan, the infant finally calm and feeding from her breast after days of rejecting every formula. Her blouse parted just enough, her dark skin glistening with sweat from the exhaustion of saving him. Jonathan's eyes blazed with contempt, his voice a whip. You think you can just barge in here and play mother? This is my blood, my heir, not some charity case for a black maid like you to soil. Serena's heart slammed against her ribs, but she didn't flinch. Gently, she detached Ethan, soothing his whimpers with a soft hum, her fingers steady despite the storm brewing. Mr. Hale, he's starving. The bottles, he spits them out. I was a neonatal nurse. I still have milk from... But Jonathan cut her off, his hand slashing the air like a blade. Shut your mouth. Who gave you the right? You're nothing here, just hired help, and now you're crossing lines you don't belong on. His breath came hot and ragged, fists clenched as memories of his late wife Isabella flooded him. Her postpartum struggles, her death leaving him shattered. But rage blinded him to Ethan's peaceful sighs, to the boy's tiny body finally gaining strength. Serena stood slowly, buttoning her blouse with deliberate calm, her brown eyes locking onto his without fear. I did what any decent person would. He's alive because of it. Jonathan's temper snapped like a taut wire. Decent? You call this decent? Feeding my son like some animal in the wild? He advanced, towering over her, his privilege a wall she couldn't breach. People like you don't touch what's mine. You don't decide for my family. And in that blind fury, his palm cracked across her cheek, the slap echoing sharp and brutal, sending her staggering but not falling. Ethan wailed in her arms, the sound piercing Jonathan's haze, but he didn't stop. Get out! You're fired. Pack your rags and disappear before I call the cops. Serena's cheek burned, a red welt rising, but she bit back the pain, her jaw set like iron. She handed Ethan to him carefully, her voice a low, steel-edged edge. You'll regret this, Mr. Hale. Not for me, but for him. The room spun with tension, Jonathan's chest heaving as he clutched his son, the infant's cries now a dagger in his gut. Serena turned, her steps measured, leaving behind the scent of milk and the weight of his mistake hanging thick in the air. Outside in the dim hallway of the Manhattan penthouse, she touched her face, the sting fueling a quiet resolve. She had saved a life, and no slap could erase that truth. But deep down, the humiliation cut deeper than skin, a reminder of every barrier she'd faced as a black woman in a world built against her. Jonathan, alone now, stared at Ethan's flushed cheeks, the boy's sudden vigor mocking his outburst. His hand still tingled from the strike, a ghost of regret already creeping in. Serena's cheek throbbed like fire, the imprint of Jonathan's palm searing into her skin, but she clamped her jaw shut, refusing to let a single tear escape. She straightened her spine, her arms still protective around Ethan, even as the baby's cries escalated into desperate sobs. You hit me for saving him, she said, her voice low and unyielding, cutting through the nursery's chaos like a blade honed by years of quiet endurance. Jonathan's eyes flickered with a shadow of doubt, but he doubled down, his face a mask of unyielding authority. Saved? You violated my family. Pack your things and get out, now, or I'll make sure you never work in this city again. His threat hung heavy, laced with the power of his billions, but Serena met it head-on, her gaze steady as granite. She placed Ethan gently back in the crib, her hands lingering for a heartbeat on his tiny chest, feeling the rise and fall that she alone had steadied. One day, Mr. Hale, you'll see that blood doesn't make a parent. Compassion does. Her words landed like a prophecy, echoing in the silence that followed, a quiet thunder that rattled Jonathan's core even as he dismissed it. Serena turned on her heel, her footsteps deliberate down the penthouse corridor, past the wide-eyed staff who averted their gazes. The elevator doors closed behind her with a final ding, sealing her exit from the opulent prison she'd briefly called work. Outside on the bustling Manhattan streets, the cool air hit her face, mingling with the sting of the slap, but she walked tall, her bag slung over her shoulder like armor. In her mind, flashes of her lost son replayed, his frail body slipping away in that underfunded clinic. No insurance to save him. This wasn't new. The world had slapped her down before, but she always rose fiercer. She hailed a cab to Brooklyn, her neighborhood of cracked sidewalks and resilient souls, where she'd rebuild once more. Back in the nursery, Jonathan paced, Ethan's whimpers piercing his defenses, but he shoved the guilt down, convincing himself he'd protected his legacy. Yet Serena's parting words gnawed at him, a seed of unease planted deep. She arrived home to her small apartment, collapsing onto the worn couch, her body aching but her spirit unbroken. Neighbors knocked softly, sensing her turmoil, and she shared just enough to remind herself that her dignity remained intact. As night fell, she stared at the ceiling, whispering to her absent child, "I did right by that boy, and I'll keep doing right, no matter the cost." The city lights flickered outside, indifferent, but in her heart, a quiet fire burned, promising that this wasn't the end. "Damn it, Ethan! Why won't you be quiet?" Jonathan snarled at the crib, his voice cracking as he rocked the infant harder than intended, the boy's cries piercing like accusations. But then he stopped cold. Ethan's whimpers faded, replaced by soft, contented gurgles, his tiny fists unclenching for the first time in days. Jonathan's breath hitched, the child's cheeks flushed with health, his body relaxed, no longer rigid with hunger. "What? How?" He lifted Ethan closer, inspecting the boy's steady breathing, the subtle weight gain already evident in his grip. Serena's milk had worked its miracle, flooding the infant with life where formulas had failed. Jonathan's stomach twisted, the slap's echo replaying in his skull, his palms still burning as if branded by guilt. He set Ethan down, pacing the nursery like a caged animal, his mind racing through the haze of rage. "She crossed the line," he muttered, but the words rang hollow now, drowned by the boy's peaceful sighs. Victoria, his mother, entered silently, her silver hair pulled tight, her eyes sharp as ever. "What have you done, Jonathan?" The staff's whispering, the slap, the firing. That woman saved him. Jonathan whirled on her, his face flushed. "Saved? She invaded my home, my son. A black maid thinking she can mother my bloodline?" Victoria's gaze hardened, unyielding. "Your bloodline? Look at him, alive because of her. Your pride's blinding you, just like your father's did." He waved her off, but doubt clawed deeper, his chest tightening with the weight of Isabella's absence, her death still raw after months. Alone again, Jonathan slumped into the rocking chair, staring at his hands, the same ones that had struck Serena, now trembling. Ethan's coos filled the room, a stark contrast to the silence she'd left behind. He reached for the drawer, pulling out Isabella's old locket, but a folded letter slipped out instead, yellowed with time. Scrawled in her handwriting, "Jonathan, if anything happens, remember Marcus. He didn't just vanish. The experiments, our family's shame." The words hit like a gut punch, unrelated fragments from her final days, stirring unease he couldn't place. "What experiments?" he whispered, shoving it back. But the seed took root, mingling with his regret over Serena. His phone buzzed, staff reports of Ethan's vitals improving dramatically. Jonathan's fists balled, tears pricking his eyes for the first time since Isabella's funeral. "I was wrong," he admitted to the empty room, the admission tasting like ash. But admitting it to himself wasn't enough. The damage lingered, a chain reaction pulling him toward redemption he didn't yet grasp. Victoria returned, her voice cutting through his turmoil. "Fix this, son, before it's too late." Jonathan nodded, the hollowness in his gut deepening, Ethan's calm sleep mocking his outburst. Outside, the city hummed indifferently, but inside, the first crack in his armor widened, promising a storm of revelations. He grabbed his coat, resolve hardening. Time to find her, to undo the slap that had shattered more than trust. "Find her, now, or heads will roll," Jonathan barked into his phone, slamming it down as his assistant scrambled, the penthouse office vibrating with his unchecked fury. Guilt gnawed at him like acid, Ethan's healthy glow a constant accusation since Serena's departure. He couldn't shake her words, that quiet prophecy slicing through his defenses. Compassion does, she'd said, and now it haunted him, twisting his nights into sleepless battles. Victoria's glare burned in his memory. Fix this, she'd commanded, her voice a steel rod in his spine. Jonathan grabbed his keys, storming out into the elevator, his driver peeling away toward Brooklyn without a word. The city blurred past, skyscrapers giving way to gritty streets, but his thoughts stayed locked on Serena, her steady hands on Ethan, her unyielding eyes after the slap. He hit the pavement hard, pounding on doors in her neighborhood, his designer coat out of place among the cracked stoops and bustling crowds. Serena Jackson, where is she? He demanded from a wary neighbor, an older black woman with arms crossed like barriers. Why are you asking? You're the one who hurt her. Jonathan's jaw tightened, but he pressed on. I need to make it right. Please. She eyed him, suspicion etched deep, then nodded toward a community clinic down the block. She's there, helping like always, but you'd best grovel. Jonathan's pulse hammered as he burst through the clinic doors, the smell of antiseptic hitting him like a wave. Chaos reigned, kids coughing, mothers waiting. But there she was, Serena, bandaging a toddler's knee with gentle precision, her face focused, unbroken. Serena, he called, striding forward, patience parting like a sea before his authority. She looked up, her expression hardening instantly, hands freezing mid-motion. Mr. Hale, what do you want? Her tone sliced, no welcome, just guarded steel. Jonathan halted, breath ragged. Ethan, he's better. Because of you. I was wrong. But she cut him off with a sharp shake of her head, finishing the bandage before standing. Wrong? You think words fix a slap? Or the way you looked at me? Like I was dirt? He stepped closer, voice dropping. I panicked. Isabella's gone, and seeing you, it felt like an invasion. Serena's eyes flashed. Invasion? I saved your son. That's not invasion. That's humanity. The room hushed, eyes on them. But Jonathan pushed. Let me explain. Please. She led him to a back room, the door clicking shut like a judgment. Talk fast. Jonathan paced, words tumbling. Ethan cried all night after you left. Then he settled, stronger, healthier. Your milk. It worked. I see that now. Serena crossed her arms, her cheek still faintly bruised. And? You fired me. Threatened me. He met her gaze, raw honesty breaking through. I was blind. By grief. By everything. My father raised me to guard what's mine. But I guarded wrong. She softened fractionally, but held firm. Your world's full of guards, mine's full of fights. Jonathan pulled out his wallet, not for money, but for a photo of Isabella. She'd hate what I did. Help me fix it. For Ethan. Serena sighed, glancing away, her resolve cracking as memories of her own lost child surged. Fine, I'll hear you out. But not here. They walked to a nearby park bench, the conversation stretching, Jonathan admitting his prejudices, Serena sharing her pain. I lost my boy to a system that didn't care. No insurance, no mercy. Jonathan's face paled. I'm sorry, truly. As dusk fell, he offered her job back, but she hesitated. Not yet. Show me change. He nodded, determination igniting. Back home, he dug deeper, calling contacts for her background, nurse credentials, community heroics. Each detail fueled his resolve. Victoria waited, her approval silent but clear. You've started, she said. Jonathan stared at Ethan's crib, the boy's smile a beacon. But in Isabella's drawer, that cryptic letter nagged again. Marcus, experiments. He shoved it aside, focusing on Serena. Tomorrow he'd track her down again if needed. The hunt wasn't over. Redemption had just begun. You think a rich man's apology buys forgiveness? Serena snapped at the clinic door, her arms crossed tight, blocking Jonathan's advance like a fortress wall. But inside her Brooklyn haven, life pulsed with unyielding rhythm. Kids from the block swarming her stoop, their laughter a shield against the world's cruelties. She knelt before a scrawny boy, his knees scraped raw from street games, her hands swift as she cleaned the wound, her touch a balm forged from her own scars. Hold still, Jamal. This'll sting, but you'll walk tall after. The child nodded, teeth gritted, mirroring her own grit after Jonathan's slap. Neighbors watched, nodding approval. Serena, the rock of the community, never crumbling. Her apartment buzzed with activity, a tiny space crammed with donated toys and medical supplies she'd scavenged. Miss Serena, my baby's fever's back, a young mother pleaded, thrusting an infant forward. Serena's eyes softened, her fingers probing the child's forehead with expert care. We'll fix this. No hospital bills today. She mixed a remedy from her kit, her movements precise, born from years in neonatal wards before grief stripped her badge. Memories assaulted her son's final breaths in that cold clinic, bureaucracy's cold hand denying aid. Not on my watch, she muttered, handing the mother instructions, her voice a command wrapped in warmth. Jamal tugged her sleeve. You okay? Heard about that fancy job? Serena's cheek still ached faintly, but she forced a smile like steel. I'm fine. Jobs come and go. People matter. She gathered the kids for story time, her voice weaving tales of heroes rising from ashes, her own story unspoken but etched in every line of her face. See? Even when they knock you down, you stand. The children cheered, their energy fueling her. But alone in the kitchen, she sagged against the counter, fingers tracing the bruise. Ethan, hope you're strong now, she whispered, her heart twisting with maternal ache for the boy she'd saved. A knock shattered the moment. Another neighbor, elderly Mrs. Hayes, clutching groceries. Brought soup, child. You look worn. Serena accepted, her hug fierce. Thanks, but I'm fighting. They sat, Mrs. Hayes probing gently. That man, he'll come crawling. Mark my words. Serena's laugh barked sharply. Let him. I don't bend for regrets. Yet doubt flickered. Ethan's tiny face haunted her, pulling at bonds she'd never meant to form. She volunteered at the clinic after hours, stitching wounds, counseling mothers, her exhaustion a badge of defiance. We survive, she told a battered woman, her words a mirror to her soul. Jonathan's shadow loomed in her thoughts, his apology ringing hollow. But she rose at dawn, jogging the streets, her breath steady, rebuilding walls he'd cracked. Compassion's my weapon, she affirmed, pounding pavement. Back home, she journaled fiercely, slaps heal, indifference kills. The entry poured out, her lost son, the system's betrayals, her vow to protect the vulnerable. A call buzzed, clinic needing her for an emergency birth. She grabbed her bag, charging out, her stride unbreakable. In this world of hers, strength wasn't given. It was forged in fire. And as Jonathan searched, she thrived, a beacon in the shadows, ready for whatever storm he brought next. Get out of my sight, Hale. You don't belong here. Serena's voice cracked like a whip, her finger jabbing toward the clinic exit, her body blocking Jonathan like a human barricade forged from pure defiance. But he didn't budge, his eyes locked on hers, pleading without words as patience shuffled away, sensing the electric storm between them. Serena, wait. Ethan needs you. I need to make this right. She laughed bitterly, her arms folding tighter, the bruise on her cheek a vivid reminder under the fluorescent glare. Right? You slapped me down like trash. Now you crawl back because your son's thriving? Spare me the pity. Jonathan's shoulders sagged, but he stepped closer, his voice dropping to a raw rasp. I was a fool, blind with grief. Isabella's gone, and seeing you with him, it shattered me. But Ethan's alive because of you. Your skill, your milk. I see that now. Serena's eyes narrowed, her breath hitching as memories surged. Her son's lifeless form, the system's indifference mirroring Jonathan's slap. See? Too late. You saw a black woman crossing your white lines and struck first. He flinched, hands raising in surrender. You're right. I let prejudice rule. My father drilled it in. Protect the name, the blood. But it's poison. Let me prove I'm changing. She turned away, busying her hands with clinic files, but he followed, his presence a shadow she couldn't shake. Prove? How? Words are cheap from men like you. Jonathan pulled out his phone, showing Ethan's photo, smiling, robust. Look at him. He's sleeping through the nights. You're doing. Serena's resolve cracked, her fingers trembling as she touched the screen, maternal instinct pulling hard. He's beautiful, but I won't return to be your token fix. Jonathan nodded fiercely. Not token. Partner, caregiver with full say, medical calls, everything. No more maid. And I'll pay for your certification renewal, whatever you need. She met his gaze, searching for lies, finding only fractured honesty. And the slap? The threats? He knelt suddenly, knees hitting the tile with a thud that echoed, his head bowed. I'm sorry from my gut. Sorry for the pain, the humiliation. It was wrong, all of it. Tears streaked his face unbidden, cracking his CEO armor. Serena's breath caught, her hand hovering, then pulling back. Stand up. Don't make a scene. He rose, wiping his eyes. I deserve worse. But for Ethan, please. She paced, conflict raging, her world's fights versus his world's offers. Fine. I'll come back. But conditions? Respect me as an equal. No glances, no whispers. And if you slip once... Jonathan's nod came swiftly. I swear, on Isabella's grave. They drove back in tense silence, the city lights streaking past, Ethan waiting in Victoria's arms at the penthouse. Serena held the boy close, his warmth melting her barriers. Little one, she murmured, feeding him again, this time with Jonathan watching humbly. Victoria nodded approval from the shadows. Wise choice. As night deepened, Serena settled into her quarters, unpacking with wary hands. But in unpacking, a loose floorboard caught her eye. She pried it up, revealing a hidden envelope. Isabella's handwriting bold. To the one who saves my son, Marcus lives. The experiments were real. Proof in the attic. Serena's pulse raced, clutching the letter. What experiments? She confronted Jonathan at dawn, thrusting it forward. Your wife's words. Explain. His face drained of color. Marcus, my brother. Father said he died young, but this... Their eyes met, alliance forging in shared shock. Serena's voice hardened. We dig deeper. Together. Jonathan agreed, the letter a bridge to secrets buried deep, pulling them into the unknown abyss ahead. You filthy opportunist. Think you can slither into this family like a snake in the garden? Lydia's venom spat across the penthouse kitchen, her eyes drilling into Serena like daggers forged from pure hate, her Italian accent sharpening every syllable. Serena froze mid-step, Ethan's bottle in hand, the warmth of the infant upstairs clashing with the ice in Lydia's glare. What did you say? Serena shot back, her voice a low growl, spine straightening like a warrior sensing ambush. Lydia advanced, her apron a facade for the storm beneath, fingers jabbing the air. I saw you snooping, whispering with Mr. Hale about secrets. You're not fooling anyone, girl. A black maid playing savior? You're after the money, the will. Closer to the baby, closer to the empire. Serena's fist clenched, the bottle nearly cracking in her grip, fury rising hot from years of slights. Watch your mouth, Lydia. I saved Ethan. What have you done but stir poison? Lydia laughed, sharp and mocking, circling like a predator. Saved? You cross lines no one likes, you should touch. Mr. Henry built this house on pure white legacy, no stains. And you? Filth is trying to rewrite it. Serena stepped forward, eyes blazing. Stains? Like the ones your boss left on my cheek? Or the secrets his wife hid? Lydia's face twisted, her hands slamming the counter, dishes rattling. Shut up! You know nothing. Isabella was weak, digging up old dirt on Marcus. I buried those letters myself. No one exposes the Hales. Serena's breath caught, the name Marcus igniting like a fuse from Isabella's note. Buried? You mean he hid the truth about experiments? Lydia's eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. You idiot. Henry's work, testing on the unworthy, minorities like you, to perfect the bloodline. Marcus was defective, a threat. I helped silence it. And now you drag it up? Serena lunged for the truth, her voice a whip. Defective? You monster! People aren't experiments. Lydia shoved her back, nails digging in. Back off. I'll tell Jonathan you're poisoning Ethan next. Get out before I make you. Jonathan burst in, drawn by the shouts, his face thunderous. Lydia! What the hell? She whirled, composure cracking. Sir, she's dangerous, spying, twisting your grief. Serena held her ground, rubbing her arm where marks bloomed. She's lying. She hid Isabella's proofs about Marcus, the experiments on innocence. Jonathan's gaze shifted, suspicion flickering toward Lydia. Proofs? Explain. Now. Lydia faltered, sweat beading, but snarled. Lies! She's manipulating you, like she did with the breastfeeding stunt. Serena's retort flew. Stunt! I saved your air while you whispered hate. The room crackled, Jonathan's fists balling. Enough! Lydia, out of my sight! She stormed off, but not before hissing at Serena. This isn't over. Dig deeper, and you'll bury yourself. Serena's pulse thundered, the confrontation leaving her shaken but ignited. Jonathan turned to her, resolve hardening. She's been here years, loyal to father. If she hid things... Serena nodded, clutching Isabella's letter. We expose her. For Marcus, for the victims. They huddled over the note, Lydia's words echoing like a warning shot. But in the attic shadows, more secrets waited, pulling them into the web Lydia guarded with her life. Hand over those letters now, Lydia, or I'll rip this house apart myself. Jonathan's fist pounded the attic door, his roar echoing through the dust-choked rafters, Serena at his side with a flashlight gripped like a weapon, her eyes scanning shadows for traps. Lydia's confession still burned. Experiments on minorities, Marcus hidden to preserve the hail. Purity. Serena shoved past, her boot kicking a loose board. She's stalling. Isabella's proofs are here. Jonathan nodded, wrenching the door open, cobwebs tearing as they plunged in, the air thick with forgotten rot. Boxes toppled in their frenzy, papers scattering like accusations, old ledgers, faded photos of Henry Hale shaking hands with shadowy doctors. Serena's fingers tore through a trunk, pulling out a yellowed file labeled Project Purity. Look, notes from the 70s. Henry funded tests on black communities, calling it genetic refinement. Marcus was first labeled defective, but really a victim. Jonathan snatched it, his face paling as he read aloud. Subject M, injected with untested serums. Side effects, cognitive fog. Family cover-up essential. Rage boiled in his veins. Father did this? To his own son? Serena's jaw set hard. Not just him. Clinics in Harlem. Payoffs to silence families. Like mine. My boy died from complications. But maybe tied to this. They dug deeper, Jonathan's hands shaking as he uncovered a photo. Young Marcus, eyes haunted, strapped to a bed. Victoria burst in, cane thumping. Stop! You'll destroy us! Jonathan whirled. Us? This is murder disguised as science! She grabbed his arm. Henry buried it for the Empire. But Isabella knew. Threatened exposure, Serena interjected, holding a taped envelope. Then why hide this? Inside, Isabella's diary, entries frantic. Marcus lives facility upstate. Experiments ruined him, but he's innocent. Proof in Henry's safe. Jonathan's breath exploded. Safe? Where? Victoria hesitated, then pointed. Study. Combination. His birth date. They charged downstairs, Jonathan cracking the safe with furious twists, files spilling, contracts with labs, victim lists, payoffs to silence witnesses. Serena scanned names, her voice cracking. My clinic. Funded by Hale. They tested on us. Jonathan's fist slammed the desk. Bastards, father's legacy. Poison. They pieced it. Henry targeted minorities for research, and Marcus collateral in his quest for perfect heirs. Isabella documented it all, planning a leak before her death, suspiciously sudden. Accident or silenced? Serena demanded. Jonathan's eyes hardened. We find Marcus, now. Calls flew. Private investigators, old contacts. One rang back. Facility in Albany, patient under alias, Mark Hayes. Alive but broken. They drove through the night, Serena's grip white-knuckled on the wheel. If Lydia knows, she'll alert them. Jonathan dialed her voicemail. Traitor. At the facility, a nurse blocked them. No visitors. Serena flashed Isabella's photo. We're family. Let us in. The nurse relented, leading to a dim room where Marcus sat, gaunt and staring, his eyes flickering recognition. Brother? Jonathan choked, kneeling. Marcus's voice rasped. Experiments. Father said I was weak, injected me, fogged my mind. Serena knelt too, her nurse instincts kicking in, checking his vitals. You're safe now. Tell us everything. Marcus's words tumbled. Needles, isolation, cover-ups. Isabella visited secretly, smuggled proofs out. They recorded it all, his testimony a damning blade. Back home, more digs, emails from Lydia to lab remnants, warning of exposure. She's covering tracks, Serena hissed, hacking an old computer with the neighbor's help. Files emerged, victim testimonies suppressed, Hale funds laundering guilt. Jonathan's resolve steelened. We build the case, sue the labs, expose father. Serena nodded, but fear gnawed. Lydia's watching, she'll strike. As they compiled, an anonymous note slipped under the door. Stop digging, or Ethan pays. Serena crushed it. Bring it on. The investigation surged, clues chaining like fire. Lab records, witness calls, Marcus's blood tests confirming toxins. Victoria confessed more. Henry destroyed lives for power. Jonathan hugged her. We end it. But Lydia lurked, her calls to old allies plotting sabotage. Serena felt eyes everywhere, her past pains fueling fire. For my son, for Marcus, we uncover all. They raided Henry's old office, finding taped recordings, admissions of experiments on disposables, triumph mixed with horror. This blows it open, Jonathan declared. Serena agreed but whispered, Lydia knows too much. She's the key to the full truth. As dawn broke, they confronted the depth, not just family shame, but systemic rot in American medicine. Hale at the heart. The hunt intensified, pulling them toward the revelation that would shatter everything. Father, you monster! You butchered your own blood for this filth! Jonathan's scream ripped through the study, his fist crumpling the final document, veins bulging as he hurled the file at the wall, papers exploding like shrapnel. Serena grabbed his arm, her nails digging in to steady him, her own face ashen from the revelation unfolding in the dim light of the safe's contents. Jonathan? Breathe. We have it all now. But he shook her off, pacing wildly, his breath ragged bursts. Experiments? On Marcus? Father didn't just hide him. He turned him into a lab rat, injected with poisons to fix what? His sensitivity? And minorities as guinea pigs. Black families like yours, Serena. For what? A perfect white legacy? Serena's knees buckled, but she caught herself on the desk, her fingers tracing the victim lists, names blurring through unshed tears. My clinic, my son. That complication, it was Hale money. Your father killed him indirectly. Hundreds like him. The truth hit like a freight train. Henry's Project Purity wasn't charity. It was eugenics cloaked in science, targeting black communities in the 70s for secret trials, serums meant to enhance but shattering lives. Marcus, born too soft by Henry's standards, got the first doses, fogging his mind, breaking his body, to erase any weakness from the Hale line. Isabella discovered it post-marriage, her diary entries frantic. Henry confessed, Marcus lives but altered. I stole samples. Proofs hidden. If I die, expose him. Serena flipped pages, her voice cracking. She planned to blow it open. But her accident? Car crash, right? Suspicious timing? Jonathan's eyes widened, horror dawning. She argued with Father days before. He silenced her. My wife, murdered for this? Victoria stormed in, Kane slamming the floor like judgment. Enough! You don't understand! Jonathan whirled, grabbing her shoulders. Understand? He experimented on his son, on innocence, for power. Victoria's face crumpled, tears streaming. Henry obsessed over legacy. Marcus cried too much, too gentle. Henry called it a defect, injected him young, said it'd toughen him, but it broke him. I begged to stop, but he threatened divorce, ruin. Serena thrust the list forward. And these? Black kids in clinics he funded? Disposable? Victoria sobbed, collapsing into a chair. He said science needed subjects. Payoffs kept them quiet. I turned blind. Ashamed. Serena's fury ignited, her slap echoing on the desk, not on Victoria. Blind? You let it happen. Jonathan pulled her back, but his own rage mirrored hers. Mother, how deep? Lydia knew. Victoria nodded, broken. She helped bury files. Loyal to Henry. Threatened exposure if we dug. The room spun, pieces locking. Lydia's warnings, the anonymous note, her handiwork. Marcus's testimony from the facility sealed it. Father visited once, said I was the price for perfection. Serena's hands shook, clutching a serum vial photo. This toxin, linked to my boy's death. Rare side effects match. Jonathan's resolve crystallized, his hug pulling her close. We end this. Sue the labs, drag Father's name through hell. But the betrayal cut deepest. Henry's empire built on blood, Isabella's death no accident but a cover-up. Serena wiped her eyes, voice steel. For my son, for Marcus, we broadcast it. Jonathan agreed, dialing lawyers. Public, no mercy. Victoria whispered, forgive me. But forgiveness hung distant. The truth a bomb detonated, shards embedding in their souls. As they compiled the dossier, Lydia's shadow loomed larger, her calls to remnants of the project, plotting to bury them all. The revelation fueled their fire, but danger closed in, whispers turning to threats in the night. You dare expose the Hales, you worthless intruder. I'll end you and that brat right here. Lydia's snarl exploded in the nursery doorway, her hand slamming the lock shut with a metallic click that trapped Serena and Ethan inside. Her face a twisted mask of rage as she brandished a hidden syringe glinting under the dim bulb. Serena's heart slammed against her ribs, scooping Ethan close, his tiny body squirming in her arms as she backed against the crib. Lydia! Stop! He's innocent! But Lydia lunged, her nails raking the air. Innocent? You're the poison. Black hands on white blood, digging up graves I buried. Serena dodged, her foot kicking a toy across the floor, the clatter echoing her pounding pulse. Ethan wailed, his cries fueling Lydia's frenzy. Shut him up, or I'll make him quiet forever. Serena's arms tightened like vices, shielding the boy, her nurse instinct screaming, syringe meant toxin, Hale's leftover serum. You're insane. Henry's dead. His crimes die with him. Lydia laughed, sharp as broken glass, advancing step by step. Crimes? Progress. He purified the line. Marcus was weak. Experiments fixed threats like him. And you? Stirring it up, turning Jonathan soft. Serena's back hit the wall, her breath ragged bursts. Fixed? You helped murder innocents. My son among them. Lydia's eyes bulged, syringe thrusting forward. Your son? Collateral. Now you pay. Serena twisted, her elbow smashing a lamp, shards flying as darkness swallowed the room. Ethan's sobs piercing the black. Jonathan, help! She yelled, but Lydia grabbed her hair, yanking hard. Scream all you want. I cut the alarms. Pain shot through Serena's scalp, but she stomped on Lydia's foot, bone crunching under her heel. Lydia howled, staggering, syringe dropping with a clatter. Serena dove for it, fingers scraping the floor, but Lydia kicked her ribs, air exploding from her lungs. Stay down! Ethan slipped from her grasp, rolling toward the crib edge. Serena lunged, catching him mid-fall, her body curling protectively as Lydia retrieved the needle. One prick and he's gone, like Marcus should have been. Adrenaline surged, Serena's knee driving upward into Lydia's gut, the woman doubling over with a gasp. You won't touch him, Serena roared, scrambling up. Ethan clutched tight. Lydia recovered, charging like a bull, her free hand clawing Serena's face, nails drawing blood. Die, you filth! Serena's cheek burned, but she head-butted Lydia's nose, cartilage cracking with a wet snap. Blood spraying. Lydia reeled, syringe waving wildly. Jonathan will thank me. Rid of your taint. Serena's vision blurred from pain, but she spotted the door key on Lydia's belt, snatched it mid-struggle, twisting free. Not today, she unlocked with trembling hands, shoving the door open, alarms finally blaring as Victoria rushed in. What madness! Lydia whirled, syringe aimed at Victoria. Stay back, old hag. You knew everything. Victoria's cane swung, cracking Lydia's wrist, the syringe flying harmlessly. Enough! Police! Now! Jonathan burst through, face thunderous, tackling Lydia to the floor. You traitor! Hands off them! Serena slumped against the wall, Ethan safe in her arms, his cries softening as she hummed through bloodied lips. Lydia thrashed, spitting curses. The legacy dies with me! But Jonathan pinned her, cuffs clicking from security's arrival. Serena's breath steadied, wounds throbbing, but triumph burned hotter. We got her, but the fight's not over. Jonathan's eyes met hers, gratitude raw. You saved him. Again. As Lydia was dragged away, her screams fading, the room pulsed with aftermath, secrets clawing for more light. Search her, strip every pocket if you have to. Jonathan's command barked at security, his boot pinning Lydia's writhing form harder against the nursery floor, her bloodied nose smearing the carpet as she spat curses through gritted teeth. Serena clutched Ethan tighter, the boy's sobs muffled against her chest, her own ribs aching from the kicks, but adrenaline surged like wildfire, propelling her forward. The syringe. Test it. That's Hale's toxin. Security nodded, wrenching Lydia's arms back, cuffing her with cold snaps that echoed her defeat. Lydia thrashed, her voice a venomous hiss. You'll regret this. Henry's proofs burn with me. Jonathan knelt, yanking her phone from her pocket, screen cracking under his grip. Not if we crack you first. Serena's hands shook as she set Ethan in the crib, his tiny fingers clutching her shirt before releasing. Jonathan, her calls. Check. He swiped through, face darkening. Dozens to old lab contacts. Destroy evidence. Exposure imminent. Lydia laughed maniacally, blood bubbling. Too late. Files torched. Serena's eyes flashed, grabbing Lydia's collar. Where? The attic stash? Lydia's smirk faltered. Go to hell. But Jonathan hauled her up, slamming her against the wall. Talk or rot in prison alone. Security dragged her out, her screams fading down the hall, leaving silence broken only by Ethan's whimpers. Victoria hovered, wringing her hands. The safe, Henry's hidden compartment. I never opened it. Jonathan bolted to the study, Serena trailing, her steps fueled by raw fury for her son, for Marcus. He twisted the dial again, but Serena spotted a false bottom, prying it with a letter opener, wood splintering. Inside, a locked box, key taped beneath. Got it! They cracked it open. Tapes, vials, ledgers spilling. Jonathan hit play on a recorder. Henry's voice, cold as ice. Project Purity, test on subject M successful. Cognitive suppression achieved. Expand to disposables. Black subjects yield data without backlash. Serena's breath exploded. Proof! His own words! They rifled through. Victim photos, payout receipts, lab reports detailing serum's horrors, birth defects, mental breaks, deaths masked as accidents. My boy's symptoms. Exact match, Serena choked, fingers tracing a report on clinic trials. Jonathan's fist balled. Father orchestrated it all. Isabella stole this. Her accident was murder. Victoria confessed more, collapsing. He bragged once, silenced threats. Serena's resolve hardened, dialing Marcus at the facility. Brother, we need your blood sample. Ties it together. Marcus's voice rasped over the speaker. Sending now. Vials from my treatments, labeled Hale. Security rushed in with Lydia's confiscated laptop. Password cracked. Emails poured. Lydia coordinating burns, but one folder untouched. Contingency. Inside scanned confessions from lab techs, naming Henry as mastermind. She kept backups to blackmail? Jonathan snarled. Serena nodded, downloading furiously. We use it all. Calls flew. To lawyers, FBI tips, anonymous. Federal, human rights violations. Botana alert pinged. Lab raid imminent, per Lydia's last message. They're destroying more. Jonathan grabbed the keys. We intercept. They raced to Albany, Serena's hands steady on Ethan's carrier in the back, Victoria watching him. At the facility, chaos. Text shredding files. Jonathan burst in. Stop! FBI en route! A tech froze, dropping a burner. Serena snatched it. Photos of destroyed vials, but one intact. Serum batch-matching reports. Evidence! The tech bolted, but security, tipped off, cuffed him. Back home, they compiled tapes, samples, emails, a dossier unbreakable. Marcus arrived, frail but fierce, hugging Jonathan. End it! For the dead! Serena's tears fell as held her lost son's photo. For all! The truth solidified, a weapon forged in pain, ready to strike the heart of the Empire. You think you've won, Hale? I'll drag your father's corpse through the mud before I let her ruin us. Lydia's shriek pierced the boardroom, her cuffed hands jerking against the guards as Jonathan slammed the dossier down, papers fanning like accusations in the tense air of the Hale corporate tower. Serena stood firm beside him, Ethan's carrier at her feet, the boy's innocent coups clashing with the storm. Ruin? You hid murders, experiments on kids like my son. Serena's voice sliced back, her fingers stabbing the air toward Lydia, fury making her tremble but not break. Jonathan raised the recorder, hitting play, Henry's cold confession booming. Purity demands sacrifice. Marcus first, then the disposables. Board members gasped, faces draining white, whispers erupting like gunfire. Lydia lunged, chains rattling. Lies! Forged! But Jonathan cut her off, thrusting victim photos forward. Forged! These families, black mothers, fathers, silenced by your payoffs. An elderly board member stood, voice quaking. Henry, he promised research for good. Serena snatched a file, slamming it open. Good? Serums that killed. My boy, dead at 5 from complications your labs caused. Lydia's eyes darted, sweat pouring. You have nothing. Burned it all. Jonathan's grin turned lethal, pulling the laptop. Not your backups. Emails, yours, to labs. Erase traces. And this. He projected the screen. Tech confessions, naming Lydia as enforcer. The room erupted, guards wrestling Lydia back as she clawed for air. Traitor! Jonathan, your father built this. You betray blood. He advanced, face inches from hers. Blood? You poisoned it. Isabella knew. You helped stage her crash. Lydia's defiance cracked, sobs bursting. She threatened everything. Henry ordered it. I drove the car that night. Gasps rippled, Victoria collapsing into a chair, her cane clattering. You killed my daughter-in-law? Lydia sneered through tears. For the legacy, purity over weakness. Serena's slap cracked across Lydia's face, echoing the one she'd endured. Weakness? You're the monster! Jonathan signaled. FBI agents stormed in, badges flashing. Lydia Rossi, you're under arrest. Conspiracy, murder, human experimentation. She thrashed, spitting at Serena. Filth like you ends here. But agents hauled her out, her screams fading down the hall. Board members scrambled, one dialing lawyers. We knew nothing, Jonathan's voice boomed. You did. Complicit. Resign or face charges. They folded, papers signing away power as flash drives copied proofs. Marcus entered, supported by Victoria, his frail frame standing tall. Father's voice, on tape, I remember the needles. His words sealed it, the board crumbling. Serena knelt by Ethan, her hands steadying as the boy reached for her. It's over. Jonathan hugged Marcus, tears streaming. Brother, welcome home, Victoria whispered, apologizing, clutching Isabella's locket. We rebuild. Media swarmed outside, but Jonathan faced cameras later. Hale Industries exposes its past. Funds for victims, reforms now. Serena stood beside, voice strong. For the silenced, like my son. Lydia's transport van sped away, her face pressed to the window, defeated. But in the tower, alliance forged unbreakable. Truths aired like wounds cauterized. As confetti of shredded lies fell, a new dawn beckoned. Justice not just won, but wielded. Rotten hell, Hale. You and your black savior will pay for dragging me down. Lydia's final screech echoed through the courtroom, her chains rattling as the judge's gavel cracked like thunder, sentencing her to life without parole, her face contorted in defeated rage as guards hauled her away, kicking and spitting. Serena stood rigid beside Jonathan, Ethan's small hand in hers, the boy's innocent eyes wide at the chaos, her own pulse thundering with vindication hard-earned. "Justice," she whispered, her voice a blade cutting through the murmurs. But Jonathan gripped the railing, his knuckles white. "Not enough. Father's ghost still walks free." The judge's voice boomed again. "Guilty on all counts, conspiracy, murder, aiding human experimentation. The Hale Labs, shuttered, assets seized for victims." Lydia twisted one last time, eyes locking on Serena. "You think this ends it? Secrets breed more." But Serena stepped forward, her stare unyielding. "It ends you. For my son. For Marcus." Guards yanked harder, Lydia's screams fading down the hall, leaving the room heavy with closure's weight. Jonathan turned to Marcus, his brother leaning on a cane, face etched with decades of pain. "Brother, it's done." Marcus nodded, tears carving paths down his cheeks. "Henry's machine, broken." Victoria clutched her pearls, whispering apologies. "I enabled it. Forgive." Jonathan's hug silenced her, fierce and forgiving. "We all pay now." Outside, media swarmed, flashes blinding as Jonathan faced mics. "Hale Industries confesses. My father's crimes exposed. Reparations start today." Serena flanked him, voice steady. "For Black families destroyed, clinics poisoned, lives stolen. No more silence." Protesters cheered, signs waving. "Justice for victims." But inside the van, Lydia plotted whispers to cellmates, though bars crushed her reach. Lawyers sealed the labs, FBI raiding remnants, hauling boxes of serums, files incinerated too late. "All tied to Henry," an agent grunted, cuffing a fleeing tech. Serena visited graves, her son's marker, flowers fresh, her knees hitting dirt. "We won, baby." Tears flowed, but strength rose. Jonathan signed decrees, board dissolved, executives indicted for complicity. "No mercy," he snarled at a pleading VP. "You knew." Fines poured in millions, funneled to survivors. Black mothers like Serena, checks arriving with apologies etched in ink. Marcus testified last, voice rasping. "I lived the nightmare. Now free." The judge nodded, case closed with a final bang. Knots untied. Lydia's allies flipped, spilling more. Henry's direct orders, taped calls damning. Victoria donated her shares, breaking free. "Redeem us." Serena hugged Ethan tighter, the boy giggling, unaware. A new start. As the court emptied, peace settled like a hard-won breath, but echoes lingered, promising the fight's embers still glowed for full reckoning. "Sign it all away, every damn cent, or I'll burn this empire myself." Jonathan's roar thundered through the Hale Tower conference room, his pen slashing across documents like a sword through flesh. Board members flinching as he liquidated assets. Millions funneling into a new foundation stamped with fire. Justice for purity victims. Serena stood at his side, her arms crossed ironclad. Ethan's hand in hers as the boy toddled forward, oblivious to the seismic shift. "Do it," she commanded, her voice a whip cracking over the suits. "For the Black families your father crushed, clinics poisoned, lives stolen. No more hiding." Jonathan nodded, his face etched with grim resolve, shoving stacks toward lawyers. "Hale Industries pivots, tech for good, AI detecting medical fraud, free clinics in Harlem, scholarships for survivors' kids." Victoria slammed her cane down, eyes fierce. "I approve. My shares too. Redeem the name." Jonathan gripped her hand, the touch a bridge over chasms of guilt. "Mother, we build from ashes." Calls flew, press releases blasting. Hale confesses past sins, pledges billions to heal. Serena dialed community leaders, her tone unyielding. "Funds incoming, no strings. Build those centers." Recipients gasped over lines, mothers like her, tears choking voices. "For my lost girl." "Thank you." Serena's chest tightened, her own grief fueling the fire. "Spread it, heal others." Marcus, stronger now with therapy, joined the fray, his voice rasping but steady. "I'll head the board. Victim voices first. Jonathan clapped his shoulder. Brother, lead us. They unveiled the foundation at a presser, flashes blinding, Jonathan facing cameras head-on. My father's experiments, eugenics horror, ends today. We donate labs to research ethics, fund lawsuits for forgotten cases. Serena stepped up, microphone gripped like a lifeline. Black lives weren't disposable. This quenches that lie. Education, health, justice. Cheers erupted, protesters turning allies, signs shifting to Hail Heels. Back home, Jonathan knelt before Serena, Ethan's giggles filling the air. Marry into this? Help run it? She hesitated, then pulled him up. Not marry, partner. But yes, they launched programs, mobile clinics rolling into underserved blocks, doctors screening for serum scars. Free tests, Serena announced at openings, hugging survivors. Your pain, our fuel. Donations poured, corporations matching, the wave swelling. Victoria hosted galas, her speeches raw. I failed once. Now I fight. Marcus spoke at schools, his scars badges. Weakness, strength and truth. Jonathan restructured the company, diversity mandates, ethics boards with victim reps. No more blind power, he declared in memos, firing holdouts. Serena led training, her sessions fierce. See Prejudice? Crush it. Ethan grew amid it, toddling through foundation offices, his laughter a symbol. Legacy now, Jonathan whispered, hugging him. Funds rebuilt lives, scholarships lifting kids from poverty, therapies mending broken minds. One mother clutched Serena's hand. My boy's alive, thanks to your fight. Tears mingled, bonds forging. The fund swelled. Global reach, partnerships with civil rights groups, exposing similar horrors worldwide. Jonathan testified in Congress, voice booming. Reform laws, ban secret trials. Bills passed, his push relentless. Serena visited her son's grave. Flowers fresh. We did it, baby. Peace settled, but action surged onward. The family united in redemption's blaze. Hand me that shovel. Let's bury the past for good. Jonathan's command rang out in the penthouse garden, his hands thrusting deep into the soil, planting the first sapling of the memorial grove dedicated to Isabella and the victims, dirt caking his knuckles as sweat poured down his face. Serena knelt beside him, Ethan's chubby fingers helping pat the earth, the boy's laughter bubbling like a fresh spring amid the solemn act. For your mama, little one, Serena murmured, her voice thick with emotion, guiding Ethan's tiny hand to press roots firmly. Jonathan straightened, wiping his brow, his eyes locking on hers. And for your son, this grove lives on through them. Marcus leaned on his cane nearby, scattering seeds with deliberate throws. Brother, stronger together. Victoria nodded, her cane now a tool, digging holes with renewed vigor. Family rebuilt from ruins. The grove bloomed fast, trees symbolizing resilience, plaques etched with names of the lost. Black families first. Jonathan unveiled it at a ceremony, crowds gathering, survivors clutching programs. Hale's shame becomes hope, he declared, voice booming. Scholarships funded, clinics rebuilt, no more hidden horrors. Serena stepped up, Ethan on her hip. We fought for truth, compassion over division, my boy's death, not in vain. Applause thundered, tears flowing as mothers embraced her. You gave us voice. Back home, the family dined together, laughter echoing where silence once ruled. Jonathan raised a glass. To new bonds, Serena clinked, her ring, his proposal accepted, glinting. To healing. Marcus thrived, leading foundation talks at universities, his story inspiring crowds. Pain forged me. Truth freed me. Students cheered, scholarships lifting dozens, Black youth pursuing medicine, ethics etched in their paths. Hail name redeemed, one recipient hugged him. Victoria volunteered at clinics, her hands bandaging wounds, apologies in every stitch. I was blind. Now I see. Jonathan restructured the company, board diversity, policies, and slashed inequalities. No more gates, open doors. Profits poured into causes, billions aiding the underserved. Serena ran programs, training nurses in bias detection, her sessions fierce. Spot prejudice? Crush it. Save lives. Ethan grew, toddling through the grove, picking flowers for Aunt Isabella. Pretty, he babbled, handing it to Serena. She knelt, tears pricking. Yes, baby, like hope. Family outings sealed it. Picnics under trees, stories shared. Jonathan confessed nightly. I slapped you. Nearly lost everything. Serena's hand squeezed his. Forgave. Grew stronger. Marcus added. Father's chains, broken. Victoria smiled. Legacy now love. Subplots resolved. Lydia's appeals denied. Her cell a tomb of regret. Labs demolished. Sites turned parks. Survivors' lawsuits won. Payouts healing scars. The lesson crystallized in quiet moments. Jonathan reading to Ethan. Serena humming lullabies. Marcus walking unaided. Truth shatters walls, Jonathan said one eve. Family circled. Compassion rebuilds. Serena nodded. Division kills. Unity saves. Victoria whispered. Pride blinds. Humility opens eyes. Marcus ended. Pain passes. Hope endures. As stars wheeled above the grove, Ethan asleep in arms, the family stood united, a beacon against darkness. No more secrets, only light forward, lessons etched in every breath, every step into tomorrow's dawn. In this heartfelt tale, we've witnessed how truth and compassion can shatter the chains of prejudice and injustice, proving that even long-buried secrets can lead to redemption, healing, and a brighter legacy for all. What lessons resonate with you? Have you faced similar challenges or triumphs in overcoming division? Drop your thoughts and personal stories in the comments. We'd love to hear from you and build a community of shared wisdom. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories, and we'll see you soon.